This happens around you every single night, and you have never questioned it. You are sitting in the nursery, or maybe the living room. The house is completely quiet, the lights are dimmed, and suddenly, your baby stops what they are doing. They freeze. They look up at an entirely empty corner of the ceiling. They stare at absolutely nothing for a few agonizing seconds. And then, they burst into genuine, uncontrollable laughter. It sends a tiny chill down your spine, but you probably just smile, brush it off, and think it is just a cute, random baby thing. But what if I told you they are not laughing at nothing? This fleeting, incredibly common moment actually connects to the deepest, most profound layers of human consciousness. It is a window into our primal survival, the strange evolution of the human mind, and the very way our brains construct the illusion we call reality. When a baby stares into the void and smiles, they are pulling back the curtain on a secret world. For generations, everyone has told you the exact same theory. Parents, grandparents, and even well-meaning doctors will claim it is just a physical reflex. They say the baby simply has a bit of gas in their stomach, or perhaps their developing nervous system is just randomly firing off facial muscles to practice smiling and laughing. It is an incredibly comforting thing to believe. We tell ourselves this because it makes the world feel simple, logical, and safe. But as cognitive neurology has advanced, we now know that this old wives' tale is not just incomplete, it is entirely wrong. A genuine, spontaneous laugh is one of the most complex neurological responses a human being can produce. It requires a specific trigger, an expectation of an outcome, and a sudden, delightful subversion of that expectation. Babies do not laugh at empty space. They are reacting to something. Recently, cognitive scientists and developmental researchers at leading institutions, including teams looking at infant neuroplasticity at the University of Toronto and MIT, started to look closer. They began mapping the visual cortex and the brainwave activity of infants during these exact, unexplained moments of sudden joy. What they found shocked everyone. They discovered that an infant's brain is not just a smaller, less intelligent version of an adult's brain. In fact, it is the exact opposite. An infant's brain is entirely unfiltered. When you look at an empty corner of a room, your highly developed, incredibly efficient adult brain actively deletes information. It instantly ignores the thousands of tiny dust particles floating in the air. It filters out the subtle, microscopic shifts in shadows. It completely ignores the microfluctuations of light bouncing off the walls. Your brain is a master editor, aggressively cutting out anything that is not strictly necessary for your immediate survival. But a baby's brain has not learned how to edit yet. The main revelation here is something that feels almost like hidden, ancient knowledge. These babies are not hallucinating, and they are not seeing ghosts. They are seeing the raw, unedited, unfiltered matrix of the physical world. Their developing eyes, which are still building neural pathways, are perceiving wavelengths of light and chaotic physical movements that adult brains automatically censor. To you, a dust mite catching a faint sunbeam is invisible. To a newborn, it is a vibrant, dancing entity. They are witnessing a secret, chaotic, and beautiful world that exists right in front of your face. A world that you have been permanently locked out of. But this is where it gets even weirder. Why do they laugh? Laughter is not just a sound. It is an evolutionary social mechanism. It is how human beings signal safety, playfulness, and connection to one another. If a baby is laughing at this invisible world, they are not just passively observing it. They feel an emotional connection to it. They are interacting with it. Consider a fascinating, highly controlled experiment conducted in modern developmental psychology labs. Researchers placed infants in a completely dark, completely silent room. They then introduced microscopic, silent laser projections into the space. These were patterns of light so incredibly faint and moving so fast that the adult researchers sitting right next to the babies could not consciously register them. The room looked pitch black to the adults. But the infrared cameras capturing the babies' faces showed something breathtaking. Their tiny pupils tracked the invisible lights perfectly. But it wasn't just visual tracking. When the unseen lights moved in unpredictable, bouncing, playful patterns, the babies smiled, cooed, and laughed out loud. When the lights were changed to move in sharp, aggressive downward lines, the babies suddenly became still, wide-eyed, and highly alert. They were experiencing genuine emotional reactions to a complex environment that the adults in the room swore did not exist. You need to understand that you are not just watching this phenomenon from the outside. You are a part of it. Every single person watching this right now went through this exact phase. You used to see the world this way. You used to look into the empty spaces of your childhood bedroom and see a brilliant symphony of light, shadow, and movement that made you burst into uncontrollable laughter. You had this superpower, and then you lost it. You lost it because you had to. Through a process called synaptic pruning, your brain literally destroyed those pathways. You had to learn to focus on faces, on food, on potential dangers. You traded the magic of the invisible world for the ability to survive in the adult one. But there is a much deeper layer to this loss. By aggressively filtering out this chaotic, invisible world, adults become trapped in a very narrow, highly rigid version of reality. We only see what is strictly useful to us. Babies, on the other hand, exist in a state of pure, expanded consciousness. Many evolutionary biologists now believe that this temporary, fleeting state of hyperperception is absolutely crucial for developing human empathy. Think about it. If a baby can find pure joy and connection in the subtle, meaningless movement of a shadow on a ceiling, it is actively training its brain to eventually find joy, love, and connection in the complex emotional expressions of other human beings. This invisible, chaotic world is their first teacher. It teaches them how to love the visible one. However, there is a very real, very subtle risk in forgetting how this mechanism works. As we grow older and our reality becomes more rigid and defined, we completely lose our tolerance for the unknown. We become afraid of the dark corners. We become stressed, exhausted, and anxious because our adult brains are constantly scanning the visible world for threats. We have permanently shut off the ability to just sit, observe, and appreciate the beautiful, unseen dance of the universe around us. We trade wonder for efficiency, and in doing so, we lose a piece of our own humanity. The next time you are sitting in a quiet room and you see a baby staring intensely into the void before breaking into a massive, joyful laugh, do not brush it off. Do not interrupt them. Do not assume it is just gas. Take a step back and realize what is actually happening. You are watching a new human being actively communicate with a profound layer of the universe that you have forgotten. You are witnessing the purest, most raw form of consciousness interacting with the unseen magic of reality. But it leaves you with a very unsettling question. If our adult brains are constantly filtering out massive amounts of reality just to keep us focused, what else are we missing right now in the room with you at this exact moment? What exactly did you lose when you grew up? And what happens to the rare adults who suddenly experience a glitch in their brain, lose that biological filter, and start seeing the invisible world again? That is exactly what we are going to explore in the next video, so make sure you subscribe, and I will see you there.